are Steve Judd. I'm Sue Brain. And today, Steve and I are going to be talking about Mars turning direct in Cancer. So, Steve, where do you want to go with that? Because Mars is turning direct this month in a over the weekend, I think, or within
No, not yet. No,
24th,
2 weeks time, week and a half's
24th.
time
So I'm running ahead of myself.
before we
20,
speak again. Yeah,
24th of Mar of February. So
11 days.
I
Yeah.
think that's going to be quite a shift moment. So where are you with all of this?
Well, um, it's all changed because in the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, Neptune stopped going retrograde, Uranus has stopped going retrograde, Jupiter has stopped going retrograde.
Yeah.
Um, we're heading into a time where, for a very few days, there will be no retrogrades until Venus starts going retrograde.
Yes, she goes retrograde.
Uh, she's dropping now already on the
Yeah,
sky.
she's in March.
Um,
Mm,
um, and at the moment, there is this kind of full storm because as Mars is standing still now and for the next 4 weeks, it's in a long term, 8 week, 6 week long trine to Saturn. Now, Mars doesn't like Cancer and Saturn doesn't like Pisces, but if they're metaphorically rubbing each other up the right way,
yeah.
then that's going to ameliorate the situation and give us a bit of hope. Um,
I think that, but Saturn does tend to manifest things, doesn't it?
yeah, and
Mm.
when Mars stands still, there's a lot of things going on in the world right now.
Is there? I hadn't noticed. Oh.
So I have to cautiously compliment
Mm,
Donald Trump because the ideas he's coming up with, if they work out, could solve a lot of problems, although some of them are feasible and others are not.
yes. Yes.
Um,
I think
I
I
have
do.
to tell you a little story.
Go on, I love a story.
A few days ago, I randomly found on my Instagram feed a clip from 30 years ago from an American comedy television series called The Golden
Oh,
Girls.
I remember that.
Right. And in it, two of these older ladies in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and this is based in the 1980s, 1990s, are talking about the world's problems. And one of them says, well, there's an easy way to solve the Middle East problems. Why don't we just relocate all the Palestinians to Greenland? Right. This is true. This is a true story. This is out there on Instagram. And they said, but it's really cold there, but we can give them warm clothing. And I just thought, oh God, that is so asinine. But it actually, this is not a joke. It's actually out there and real. And it's from 30 years ago. And it's so relative to what's going on today. I
Yeah.
mean, there is a feasible chance now of peace in Ukraine. Yeah, I'm not holding my breath, but the idea
What
of
Ukrainians feel as supported, let's put this, I'll put it that way. I mean, I don't
um,
want to get into the politics here, do we? But
no, no.
everything feels slightly as if it isn't quite even keel. There's a bit of that going on.
Yeah, there's so many different things going on.
Mm,
Whether it's with the US of A and Greenland, Panama, the Gulf of Mexico, the Gaza Strip, Ukraine, whether it's Britain with its yesterday's complete transparent exposure of MI5 as having lied completely to protect one of their own,
yeah.
Kelsey,
Oh,
and also about how the church has yet again voted against independent oversight so that they can keep their little transgressions to themselves. It's there's so much going on. Every country in the world at the moment is dealing with a lot of stuff that they're trying to suppress from the past, which isn't going to work.
Do
And
you think that's very Mars Cancer, though? Kind of
it
keep
is.
moving.
It really is.
It's
And
that
now,
retrograde.
and Mars is about to start moving forward again.
Exactly.
And as you said to me just before we started this interview, Mars is going to pass opposite Pluto again.
It is, and that's kind of like an impossible. It's a power. It's going to be a major power surge, almost like an impossible situation. Really, it's going to
Yes.
come up that April.
Yeah.
Steve, I reckon if we can, as a global collective, if we can get through April without lobbing a bomb at each other, I think we'll make it.
Well, there's so much happening the last few days of March, first few days of April, with that lineup in Pisces, and then at the same time the partial eclipse of the Sun in Aries,
Yes.
followed by Mars opposite Pluto. But it's
Yeah.
just one wave after another.
And I think it's interesting that that is the final eclipse, I think, in the Mars axis for a
Yes,
while, because then it moves into Virgo Pisces. So I think that's a big shift, isn't it?
I did two videos yesterday, Sue. One on yesterday's full moon, which was Sun, Ceres, Mercury opposite the moon, all square Uranus. And I
Yeah,
did a video for the world, and I was a bit caustic on it, and I was a bit loose. But then it was a full moon square Uranus. I was all over the place. Everyone was yesterday. But
yeah,
then I did another video for my membership only, and I went, look, it's all actually going to be all right. This is meant to
yeah,
be happening, and it will
definitely.
work out. And so don't panic. And there were a lot of people were very grateful for that.
Mm.
Um, it because of my age, and you will get this over the decades I've been over the 7 decades I've been alive. I've seen different situations in the world develop, and what I'm realizing is that the more extreme things go to one side or the other, the quicker the snapback towards the center when the elastic breaks. And at the moment, there's this huge swing towards one particular political stance, and it's being led by situations in America, but it's certainly not exclusive to America
Oh,
by a long way.
absolutely not. No.
Um, let's not even start talking about Australia and what's going on there. Um, but it does seem that when the snapback happens, and bearing in mind we are coming into a Saturn Neptune conjunction, and we all know astrologers all know about what happens at Saturn Neptune conjunctions and oppositions at the global political level.
Absolutely.
So um,
Something's going to.
things are going to really oscillate.
Yeah. Do you know, it's interesting, isn't it? About the earthquakes around Santorini, and they're
Yeah.
bubbling. Everything's bubbling. Nothing's blowing, but everything's bubbling. And it feels like little bit like that to me. That this sort of feeling of maybe it's the North Node shift into Pisces, which is nothing's quite clear.
Yes. And bear in mind, Pisces does deal with the deep seas.
It's the oceans.
I've
And
been,
there's a very
I've been,
big stellium that's going to come in Pisces as well in April. Well, it's building up now.
I've been doing a lot of research in recent weeks into Plato, just for the documentary.
Mm.
And Plato was adamant that what he considered to be Atlantis was in the ocean beyond the Pillars of Hercules. But before Plato's time, and not too far before Plato's time, Santorini did erupt massively. The volcano erupted, and that did take out a lot of people and changed the appearance of the Aegean big time. And I wonder if what Plato was referring to was actually in the Aegean as opposed to in the Atlantic.
Yes, yes, it could have been. I mean, other people say it's in the Indian Ocean, and we just really don't know. Other people say it's Hawaii, is the tip of Atlantis. But maybe the Atlantis energy is is being released from the deep.
Well, I don't even know if Atlantis ever really existed. It's myth.
A lovely myth, though.
That's a lovely myth.
A
But
love, very relevant today.
the geology of these places, it's all very well people going, oh, it was here and it was there, but the geology of the undersea surface is normally a very good you can normally tell whether that land has been elevated in the past or not. And that kind of rules out much of the Atlantic and the Indian Ocean as far as I'm concerned.
Mm.
Um, we'll never know. There'll never be completion here. But the fact that all these earthquakes are happening just around the southern Aegean, Santorini, and it's not volcanic.
Mm.
It's tectonic.
Tectonic. It's tectonic plates. Yeah.
Yes.
But they are well, whoever they are, by the way, the geologists are expecting some kind of major eruption, but it hasn't happened as yet. There's shaking going on, but it isn't an eruption.
Well, we live on a planet that is alive.
We do.
And as you know, recently for my documentary, I talked a lot with a friend of both of ours, Gary Phillipson,
Yeah.
who talks about not just the sentience of all matter and animism, but the sentience and consciousness of the universe. And extrapolating that back downwards, it's very obvious to me that the planet is alive. And if it's alive in terms of having movement and cycles and rhythms in its way of expressing itself, that talks to me of life. Therefore, there must be an element of consciousness somewhere.
Well, this is James Lovelock, the Gaia principle. The
Indeed.
planet is a living entity. Absolutely. And he was ridiculed by the scientific community about this. If this is true, then the whole of the cosmos is alive. And that,
Well, I know that the planets are alive. So do you. I mean, we can measure planetary energies and see their effects in a way that is now basically provable
yeah.
through statistics.
Well, have you seen the James Webb telescope? They've just done this incredible film. I think, and maybe I told you about this before, where they're looking at the shapes of the galaxies in the heavens,
Yeah.
and actually they're mirroring the synapses in the brain.
And the fern evolution in the forests, and
Yes.
it's all numerical. Fibonacci's everywhere. Don't even get me going on crop circles.
I mean, how can we have been so blind for the last
Because
since the time of well, it's really the age of reason, isn't it? And Rennie did
I'll tell you
Descartes.
where it all went wrong. There was a moment. It's
What?
when Descartes
Yeah, I think
said,
that.
"I think, therefore I am," as opposed to "I feel, therefore I am."
Yeah,
That's when it all went wrong. That was the start of the age of reason. And then we got into science where the scientists said, well, we can explain everything.
yeah,
And that was the massive surge to the male ego that's led us to where we are today.
yeah. And it's kind of like if you can't see it, you can't prove it, so it doesn't exist. And anything existential, anything unseen is cast into the darkness, or you're accused of being mad.
Or psychologically disturbed.
Psychologically disturbed. Do you know, it's so interesting talking to clients who are beginning to open up to their psychic abilities or their intuition and sort of just saying, this is normal. You're not weird. Having visions or prophetic dreams, or you're walking into a room and you're absolutely feeling the whole, you're feeling the mood of the room. It's not unusual. In fact, it's usual to feel that. It's just that they've been said that's okay. I find this, so I send them off all over the place to go and do development circles and go to the College of Psychic Studies and Arthur Findlay College.
I've recently had a lot of success. And by recently, I mean in the last couple of months, I've got three or four very explicit emails on how people have either willingly or begrudgingly ended up in places that I've suggested are very good for them using astrocartography. And in every case, the person has gone, I really couldn't see myself moving here, but now I'm here. And it's like, I've been waiting to come here all my life.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's more, I'm seeing more and more evidence now of how astrocartography works. Seriously considering well upping my the nature of astrocartography in my services because it's so relevant. And again, that suggests that the energetic lines from the planets in the solar system, as they shine on that particular portion of the earth that is in line with them at the moment of a person's birth, does have a resonance in their life.
Yeah. And I'll just talk to tell you about my own experience. I've always wanted to live abroad, and I've never been able to because my Jupiter line goes right through Britain. This is where I'm meant to be. And I've always said, I'd love to go and live in France. I've tried to live abroad. No way, Jose. This is home. It's fascinating.
Yeah, I always gravitate back to southern central England where my Mercury's on the midheaven. Yeah,
Yeah, isn't
yeah,
it
always. Yeah.
fascinating, isn't it? And you just,
However, wherever I've had a lot of success, I think I've got sunrise over Colorado and moonrise over Bermuda. And these are places I've regularly been for work. And, it works. What can I say? But
that's the magic, isn't it? That's going back into allowing the magic, the intuition to guide us.
yes. Um, so let's bring this back into what's really going on in the world at the moment. Because as Mars moves back into Leo in April
Yeah.
and leaves in, I think, June.
Yes, we finally meet. Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure when the potential meeting for Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin in Saudi Arabia will take place, if it'll ever happen. But the fact that it was announced on a full moon in Leo, exactly squaring Uranus, makes me think, this isn't going to quite work out the way everyone expects.
Just feel
There's
a little,
going to be changes.
yeah, power struggles though.
Yeah, and
That's what it
you
is.
imagine the security?
I know. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I just think there's an awful lot of, I mean, I think, the full moon in Leo, Leo's a lovely sign, as we all know, but my goodness me, it can be full of hubris. And with
Pomp,
that, with
pomp
that,
and
that,
circumstance.
that, that, that square to Uranus, I don't know.
If I was talking to a client with that, I'd be saying, how's your blood pressure?
Yes, yes,
How's the electrical systems around your heart?
yeah,
That's the
yeah.
type of thing I'd be looking at.
Well, Trumpy has got Uranus on his midheaven square
He does.
on his ascendant.
As you may or may not remember, Trump's moon is in exactly the same degree as mine. We both have the moon at 21 Sagittarius, but Trump has the sun at 22 Gemini.
Hmm.
So when Jupiter lands on his sun and moon again, soon being, I don't know, where are we now? Mid-February. So it's going to be kind
Oh, you have frozen.
of April and truly magnificent,
You froze
which,
then, Steve.
which,
Steve, can you just repeat that because you froze?
yeah, I think Jupiter's going to land on top of Trump's sun and opposite his moon sometime towards the end of April, start of May.
Yeah.
And that's going to uh, it's either going to be brilliant or it's going to be awful. And that it could really consolidate his legacy and make him someone who people talk about in glowing terms for decades to come, or it'll
Yeah.
blow everything out of the water.
But do you know what? Whatever happens, that people are going to talk about him for decades to come. He is a massive influence now in the collective. Whatever he
Yes.
does,
Oh, yeah,
he'll
yeah.
do a
I've
perfect
been
history.
yesterday. A few people on YouTube started accusing me of having something called TDS. I was like, what? What's TDS? And a lot of other people were scratching their heads. And it's called Trump derangement syndrome. And I looked it up, and it was originally a term from about 7 years ago, where people were just fanatically into Trump and they were seen as being deranged. And now it's completely turned the other way around. It's people who really don't like Trump and see him as the Antichrist. And I'm like, well,
No. My jury's out. I have no idea if he's Christ or the Antichrist. I'm just watching and I don't know. I mean, I think that, well, we talk and we don't want to get into politics, I know, but I think Mars, Pluto may trigger something between Elon Musk is definitely stepping up and stepping into situations that wasn't necessarily expected, I don't think. And I'd be interested to see how that power play plays out between him and Trumpy
well, as I say, a bit
over
of
this
elastic
time.
can only be stretched so far.
Yeah, yes, yes,
But at the same time, if it weren't for people like these pushing the boat out and pushing things, we'd
yeah,
become a homogenous lump of boring stability. And we need innovators and stimulators, even if we're not in agreement with them all the time, to accelerate the future.
absolutely. And whether there is, I think, this whole time, I think this whole year is such a shift as we're shifting into the fire and air signs, and I feel like there's going to be such a shift by the end of the year, and we'll look back and go, whoa,
Oh yeah, well, and then we've got the first 4 months of 2026,
yes.
and that's when it's all going to become very real indeed.
Yeah. Well, we've got to, I think that's why I think for all of us is about building resilience. Don't get sucked down the rabbit holes. Yes, it is a pokey time. We have got Mars going direct and it is going to oppose Pluto, which is interesting.
Well, we will have an opportunity to discuss this in person very shortly
We will do. We will.
because you
Yes,
and I are going to be on the stage together
we are.
in 8 days' time. No, 7 days'
Seven
time.
days. It's this time next week. Yeah. Yes. So Steve and I are going to, well, Steve is hosting, Steve and Penny are hosting this wonderful conference at Amadown, and I'm definitely going to be there to host a chat like a bit like we do on these videos. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, yeah, and I can tell you that both me and Penny are as well.
Good. Is
We're
there
really looking forward to seeing all these people.
Yeah, isn't it? I think it's nothing like seeing people in person, is it? I mean,
No, exactly.
it's fantastic.
And so many of Penny clients and my clients are coming to this, and they're people whom I've dealt with for decades in some cases and never met.
Oh, isn't
So
that
I'm so
lovely?
looking forward to meeting these people in person. We've got one or two nice little surprises lined up for them. We have sold out of residential rooms now.
Fantastic.
So, but there's still sort of non-residential tickets available or day passes for people in the local area, but only a few. So
Yeah,
yeah, we're good. And on that note, I'm not going to say anything now, but the next time we speak in this format, so the next time we do another chat, I will have a very big announcement about something coming up in
good.
May.
Excellent. Oh, yes. Absolutely. We've got to keep this going, this whole
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
lushness of astrology and how it's all
Yeah, you've got to keep it going because otherwise you just lay down and let the world walk all
yeah,
over you. No, no, it's you got to it's a lived experience.
definitely. And the
You've
more
got to immerse yourself in it and flow with it.
and the more we live it, the more we attune to the planetary energies and live the life that we're meant to live.
I've been in the studio a lot in this last few weeks with the documentary, and it's getting to the point now where it's wrangling, and it's like, oh, trying to get lead into gold. And we've got it, but it's this the last little bits, and you've really got to just twist and keep going and push. And out of that, you get the difference between 95% and 98.5%. And that makes all the difference.
And also, I think with Mars going direct, you'll get that energy burst. It's gonna, it's there. So I think with a lot of people who might be feeling quite frustrated at the moment or held back or unsure, when Mars goes direct, I think there's going to be a burst of energy.
I agree. I
Very
can't wait,
assertive.
'cause my Mars is in the second half of Cancer, so I can't wait. Yeah. So, yeah, we live.
Oh, fantastic. Oh God, yes. And then it'll be going over your Mars, and then boom, it goes. Yeah, so that's a
To
great
Leo,
cycle for
opposite
you.
Pluto. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, yes. And then into Leo. That's when it's going to kick, isn't it? When it goes into Leo. Woohoo. All righty. Is there anything else you would like to say before we close about Mars going direct?
In the next few weeks, in the next month or 6 weeks, Mars is going to trine Saturn, sextile Uranus, trine Neptune, oppose Pluto. And this is the third and final pass of a sequence that started, in October, maybe even late September of last year. So we're now entering the final stage of this. It's not quite end game, but it's going to be very easy to overreact. And the wise person will act without overreacting. You have the choice of three things. You can act, you can overact, or you can react.
Yeah. Or respond rather than react.
Responding is better than reacting because reacting means you're responding to what other people have already said or done.
Yeah.
I prefer to act.
Mm.
It's better to be do than to be done to sometimes. And it's better to act than react. However, actions carry responsibilities. As I'm fond of saying to my clients, when they actually make a stand for themselves against oppressive circumstances from their family or their work clients or whatever, when they finally get strong enough to be able to stand up and say, no, I'm not doing this anymore. And
Yeah.
I have to say to them, okay, now you've made the breakthrough. Now ram the brakes on. It's fine. You are responsible for your actions. You are not responsible for other people's reactions. So as long as you're living in your own truth and walking your own talk, you have nothing to worry about.
Mm.
But act in a mature way. Don't do what the rest of the world's going to do. There's going to be a lot of headless chickens in the next few weeks.
And I'm really into Kairos time at the moment, which is taking a breath and making decisions at the right time, being attuned to that, rather than Chronos time, which is racing against the clock. So that's where I'm putting my attention at the moment, is reconnecting with Kairos time.
Remind me next time. I've got a great story about me channeling Kronos
Oh,
by accident
okay.
on the documentary, and it's got to be heavily, heavily bleeped out. I'll tell you that one next time.
Bleep, bleep. All right, lovely. So I'll see you in a couple of days
Yeah,
in person, and we'll be back in a few weeks.
we will.
Until
Right,
then,
Susie.
take care, everyone.
I
Bye for
will.
now.